my headphone.
Okay. Are we on the screen?
Oh, we can show them our dirty jam space. That's great.
There we go.
Yeah, look at that sexy jam space.
So wonderful. Please welcome to Live from My Bachelor Pad, Shed Monkeys.
Hello.
Oh my goodness, adorable
We are
start.
professionals. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
you can tell that we've really grown.
We know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Professional development here.
Mm-hmm.
That was absolutely meticulously planned out pre-conversation.
Yeah, we wrote that. We had a script for it and everything. We wrote it out days ago. So
Storyboarded the whole lot. I mean, that's one thing that we'll jump into. Sass aside is the artistic. I was going to say integrity, but the artistic flow and output of what you produce is awesome. But firstly, let's just set the scene. Who the hell are you? Bear with me. Who the hell are you? Where the hell are you? And what are we talking about, Shed Monkeys?
Who the hell are we? That's a good question. I feel like we're still figuring it out.
I don't know who I am. Yeah. We know where we're from Victoria, BC.
Yeah, that's a good jumping off.
That's a big
spot.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long have we been doing music for now? 2.5 years?
2.5 years, yeah.
Started out in my shed in Victoria, BC. Just making a lot of noise, being a little bit rambunctious, and then Shed Monkeys kind of came from that side of things. And yeah, slowly have been kind of moving around Victoria. We're now up in Sydney and making music up here.
Out in the woods.
Yes.
And that is the jam spot behind you then? That is...
Yes.
Control.
Yes, slash living room.
Humble abode. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything's in here.
Ooh.
Spend all our time in here.
Do you know what I'm realizing is, because you've got the headphones on, the mic is... I'm pointing at my screen. That's adorable. But that's your microphone there. So when you turned around, it was luscious and full and textured.
Oh, was it really? Like when I do this? This is much better?
You sound, if you get too close, you're a bit like an airline pilot, coming into land in Sydney, BC. I don't know why I'm doing this still.
Trying to do
Okay, so we start out in the back of a shed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the Shed Monkey idea grows to the extent that you then decide, I know. Introduce the rest of your band. Names, you, band. Yeah. Sorry, before we get ahead of ourselves.
Of course. My name is Rhea George, and I play keys and sing.
And I'm Nathan Margetts, and I play guitar and sing. And we've got, they're not here right now, but we've also got Steve Clark on the bass and Sasha Enns on the drums.
The recent addition.
Yes.
Yeah, and the monkey kind of came... Was it the monkey first or was it the name first? No, see, here's the question, right? What came first?
It's such all the time we spent in the shed is such a blur because it was like we probably spent like a year without doing anything really, just in the shed and like concocting ideas.
Exactly.
And yeah, but I think the monkey came after.
Yes.
The monkey came when I happened to pick up a purple suit, and we also had zebra striped purple pants. And we were like, this is cool. And then you also ordered that random mask.
And then the monkey came into the picture.
And I mean, the monkey showed up at the shed, and there's no costume. Yes. It's not a human being. It's a monkey.
Yeah.
But yeah, he kind of slowly came into the picture and has been on the sidelines. Our biggest supporter, I think, is the mascot that we created. So maybe that's saying we're our own biggest fans.
We are our own biggest fans, yeah.
You've got a great support network around yourselves, and it's you, which is very important. Self-belief is very important. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think before we dive any further in, we should get a quick mug shot.
Yes.
This is my current drinking situation.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've got this bad boy.
Over a bit. Shit happens.
There it is. There's the screenshot.
Which, when we were testing out and getting everything set up, I explained and showed that this is one of my favorites. It's just holding all my tea bags that I've been drinking the last few hours right now. This wonderful Watership Down situation. Okay, yeah, that was a rough time.
Nothing better than a good mug, I feel like
you gotta have your mug.
You wake up in the morning and you just are coming home to a beautiful cup of coffee or tea. Yeah, brought to you by the best mug.
And the development and the growth of actually, when you were first farting about in the shed, was there any? I say farting about lovingly.
Oh yeah, we were 100% doing that.
It's absolutely. We're still doing that. Yeah.
What reference points did you bring to the table, the two of you? How did you start? Did you just plug things in? There must have been some kind of conversation about, I've got this tone, I've got this amp, I've got something I would like to play around with and see what we can develop. Do you remember the earliest memories of those first jams?
Yeah, the earliest memory I have of Nathan is him taking a video of his guitar amp and pedal board setup. This is before we even met in person.
Yeah.
And he sent me like probably a 3-minute video explaining his amp and his rig. And I was like, oh, damn. Okay, this could be really interesting.
Yeah.
And, you know, we bonded over a mutual love. I think at the time it was the Kills, obviously a lot of Jack White. And we kind of started with the intention of being a 2-piece Kills type band.
Playing
Which
to
just
like backing tracks and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think the first couple months was just us getting to know each other, getting to know our different styles, and kind of trying to find a place to piece them together.
It was very interesting getting to know each other and also learning to play music together at the exact same time. Like, it's, as long as we've known each other, we've been playing music together. So it's kind of,
which I find really fascinating, because how did you two even connect in the first place?
The glorious Tinder.
We have this app. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Yeah.
Called Tinder.
Yeah. And it was really great just because, like, it was like we both had mentioned in our profiles that we just want to play music with people, and we decided to get together and play some music. And
yeah, that's actually how we also got our first drummer, Shisha, on board.
No
we were like, maybe
way.
we should. We were like, maybe we should get a drummer and fill this thing out. And so opened up Tinder again, started swiping, and he turned out to be like one of the best people and musicians that we were connected with. So.
Hang on. So did you make like a joint account, like the two of you
looking
for drummer? Well, how did you do that? This is cool. How have I not known this?
Yeah, it's like a whole like marketing tool. I think Tinder is like not utilizing this marketing strategy.
They need to. Yeah. Like, it's not just for dating.
Yeah.
It's for...
no, it was just me at the time, I think.
Yeah.
That's the real answer. And
but in your profile, did you say, "Look, I'm not DTF. I'm here for a drummer"? Like,
that's precisely what I
said. Oh, that's awesome.
You play the drums, hit me up. If not,
yeah,
I don't want to have anything to do with you.
Yeah. Wow, Bumble, you're dropping the ball, Bumble. Bumble come along and are like, "Yo, Tinder, we're going to show you what real class and connection is, okay?" We network, I suppose I do networking, so you could, all right. That's fascinating. I love that. That's such an interesting use of the systems and the social connections that we're led to believe should be used for other things. I mean, you don't have to play with inside the lines of the Tinder usual. You can reach out and then put together a band. That is so cool. Thanks for sharing that. I had never known. I didn't know that.
I should write a book, how to make a band in the modern era. Just
maybe, yeah.
I mean, that it is a really weird
1,
concept.
Download Tinder.
Yeah,
that's like the entire book right there.
I remember watching you at the Copper Owl when you were a 2-piece. One of your first shows.
You were there?
I was there. Was that the first show or was that the second show?
No, that was the first show ever.
Yeah.
It was that night that we decided we're not going to be a 2-piece anymore. Just because, like, as well as the Kills pulled it off, it was something else trying to do that, and just the roboticness of and I mean, no disrespect to anybody who does play with a backing track, like, I respect it all, because it's hard. It's very hard to do, to feel like you're playing something organically. And I've seen so many people do it, but then after that night, it was just like, we want loud, boomy drums and a bass player. And so we got one of each.
Now, how did you come across the bearded, not so bearded of late, not so hairy of late? How did you come across that wonderful soul?
Steve and I were in a band together called We the Few, at the same time as when Shed Monkeys was starting up, and one of the members of We the Few was moving away, and so I just asked Steve if he felt like continuing to play bass in another band, and he wanted to.
He said yes.
He said yes.
Yeah,
It was a beautiful thing.
We're so grateful.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I still can't get the Tinder thing out of my head. I think that's sweet. So Steve comes in, and the first set of releases get put together. And how did you go about that? Because the thing is, what I'd love to dive into here is that I was always raised to be multi-skilled. If you can be multifaceted, if you can go into any workplace and learn as much, not to step on anyone's toes, but just be indispensable. And for me, I love the fact that, going back to when you were saying earlier that you sent a video of like, this is my pedal board, this is how I do it, this is what I'm going for. I love when someone shows. It's easy to speak, it's easy to type, it's easy to say, but if you don't actually put it in motion and practice, right? If you're into, show me. And so what I find, I can hear myself slightly, just, I don't know how I can hear myself coming back through you, but we're going to keep going through that. Weird. What I find interesting then is, oh gosh, the world doesn't need two of me.
Oh no.
I don't know. That seems to have done it, I think.
Yeah. No.
Sure. Okay, let me backtrack here. So I've had a complete brain fart. Let me have a sip of tea. I told you this would be very casual. There's no right or wrong. There's no time limit. It's a conversation. It's not an interview. It's a conversation. Because I have 4 questions in my head right now. So what I need to do is bring it back. Show me. That's my last recollection. So multifaceted, talented output, artistically, fancy words. Okay, art. I found it. You don't just play guitar. You don't just play keys. You create. You do photo. You do visual. You do drawing. You do design. So how did you decide at the very start you were going to push yourself and show off all these talents too? Because bands have to be, certainly now during this pandemic and moving forward, if they weren't aware, as multi-talented as possible. And that can only bring growth, which is ultimately a very good thing. So how did you stitch all those pieces of art together in the early days of Shed Monkeys? And how has it developed as we've moved forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty complex relationship because in some stages I've done a lot of the design and the video and whatnot out of necessity because, we are artists and we don't have a ton of money to spend. And like, if we could support other graphic designers, we would 100% love to do that. But I think, so almost out of necessity, and then also out of a desire to learn and grow in my own art and design and that kind of thing. And then I think, in the beginning, I mean, I've noticed a huge, hopefully a huge growth in the content that we're putting out now.
Rhea does like all the graphic design stuff, and sometimes I'm like a little birdie that's like, hey, what if we try? What if we try this? But it's like the maestro is over here.
Yeah, I also think stuff. Art is a really good way to showcase just like versatility because music, as much as it is about the sound and like the sonic landscapes that you're kind of designing, it's also about something bigger, and it's an image, and we kind of wanted to cultivate the whole sphere of it.
Oh yeah.
Does that answer any of your questions?
Well, I threw a lot of things at you, to be honest. One might class what I just did as verbal diarrhea, but now if we're focusing on, if we're looking at what came first, the monkey or the band, if we apply that to what came first, the song or the art vision, do you find, and have you found that you've had a vision in your mind of maybe any kind of artistic outlay that you think, oh, we could write a song in that theme? Because I know from previous conversations, because of our friendships, that lyrically you don't necessarily, and we'll get into that, emphasize on certain stories or personal stories. You build around themes. And have you found yourself in the past, so you've got an idea artistically, then go, oh, this could become a song, and you've built that way instead of the other way, if that makes sense?
I think usually it comes from a bit of a deep dive into your own like personal like writing strategies. So sometimes when you're in the midst of writing a song, it can just come, like you said, like verbal diarrhea. You're in the midst of it. It's this flow state, and then upon like analyzing it, you can find, or at least I found, different themes that kind of flow in between songs depending on like the timing that we were writing them or whatnot. And so usually, I guess for me, I take the themes that I find afterwards and then try to emphasize them in the art style.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think, I'm trying to think about a time when it's been the opposite. Can you?
Like where we've come up with like a visual idea and then form the music around that. It's usually the music comes first, I think.
Yeah, no wrong answers. I'm just gonna.
Oh yeah, no, it's it's usually the music first, because
that's a really neat concept.
Yeah, like maybe we'll try that now, because I do like that.
Ooh.
But
just a good way to get outside of your usual tendencies,
patterns.
Yeah.
But no, it's usually the music first, and then develop themes later.
And when it comes to, it's no secret to many that we're in a global pandemic right now, and of the friends of mine and musicians that I've spoken to, there's definitely a close 50-50 between I don't know what to say, I don't know if I wish to create, I can't create, and then there's the I can't stop creating. The inspiration is flowing through, and artistically it grounds me, and I have to produce. How have you found this year to be? Because this EP that's coming out is not a surprise to you. This has been a year really prior to this year in the making. So how have you responded to, just how the hell are you? How have you responded to the way the world is and how it's affected your rollout of your baby? These are your 4 babies, these songs.
Yeah, we hit the studio for this EP in May of 2019. So we've been sitting on it for a really long time, and we had plans to we had booked a tour in, was it March this year? So, well, starting in late March of this year. So obviously that got shut down pretty quick, and the plan was to do that tour, which was just like an island in Vancouver, like Vancouver Island in Vancouver tour, play a couple shows, then come home to Victoria, throw a big show, and just throw it all out there. And with the pandemic and everything, that kind of got canceled, and so we flipped it around and just said, okay, let's not try to just push it out anyways. Let's do it properly with like the options that we have in front of us now. So we decided to start. We've released 3 of the 4 songs already. Now just trying to push those on social media and stuff, and growing it that way, which is not very fun all the time, as I'm sure anybody listening who does any kind of social media work can relate to. But it's the way the world's working right now, and so far it's been going really well. And I'm almost wondering if it was for the better. Like if we had just tried to push it all out when we were planning on it, it may have been too soon.
Yeah, I think it's like learning how to live. I hate, or just like, I hate saying the new way. But initially, it was like very disheartening, and I think that a lot of people are obviously in the same boat. But then, you kind of accept it, and I think that we're moving forward in a really interesting way, and maybe there's opportunities, like you said, that we're finding now and working within it.
Yeah. Long story short, I think we're doing real good.
Yeah, I think it's going well. I muted myself when I got excited and went get, which is why it looked like I said something and you couldn't hear. So because thank you for that. Because it's intriguing, because you, during this process, knowing that you've got this EP and planning how you're going to release it, you then also have a slight band member change up. And so that says to me quite profoundly that you see an ultimate Shed Monkeys future. You don't see a pump the brakes. You see, let's try and rearrange and turn the vehicle which way we can, which is changing every moment of every day to find and navigate our way forward. So there's not been, and you can you share and you say what you wish to say and what is comfortable, but there was not a single moment that you felt maybe we should just stop doing this.
No, I think from the very beginning, we were telling ourselves like, okay, this is happening, but let's make the most of what we have, which is a lot. And like to stop would be a disservice to the music we make, and just to keep pushing forward is what's most important, because it's not the world is not, it feels like it's at a standstill, but it's just the game has changed a little bit, which, like you said, I don't like saying it either, but it's painfully true.
We had a conversation, I think, just a couple nights ago, just talking about it, and how we both just decided that we're in too deep, and we're lucky enough to have a group of people around us and in the band as well who are fully on board. And I think it's just the collective energy it's there, and we're gonna keep going with it as long as we can, because we're in too deep to stop now. So.
Yeah, and
we're lucky to be in that position.
Yeah, and it feels like there's no other option, which is the other comforting and scary, but in a good way.
No other option?
Thing. No other option, at least just in terms of like, it doesn't make sense to stop.
Yeah, it's just a nonsensical why, okay, it doesn't need to be expanded upon. Yeah, simple, because it's the gut feeling. A gut feeling doesn't need to, you don't need to spend 20 minutes fleshing it out. It's told you in that moment, keep going, stop, eat more of the chocolate. You've had enough chocolate.
Exactly.
I'm just talking for myself. I can't talk for others. So
you can never have too much chocolate.
Yeah, well, I mean, I said that we could talk about anything in this, but I think we'll leave my bathroom habits at that. So, and all the new photos, everyone's looking great. Steve, what propelled Steve to shave his beard and his hair?
We don't know.
No, he said that he's been like wanting to do it for a long time, but apparently he would walk into a barbershop and they'd be like, "Sorry, we just can't do that." And I'm like, why?
Somebody apparently told them like, "No, that's not going to look good on you."
Yeah. And clearly they were wrong.
They were very wrong.
If you'd seen the photos.
Yeah.
And I think, a new change, and
it was actually quite a funny little story. I'm going to call up my mom real quick, because Ray and I live in the basement suite of my parents' house. And that's where the jam space is. And shout out to my parents. I'm sure they'll be listening when this is.
Hey, Danny.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dan. Sorry, Dan.
They let us jam in the basement whenever we want to, all hours of the night, because we're out in the middle of nowhere. So, but a funny little story was we were jamming down here, and my mom came down to ask me a question, and she opened the door and she looked at Steve and she goes, "I don't know you." Just as a little comment, which is something my mom would say. And he was like, we all kind of laughed because we thought it was a joke. She asked me her question, and then she went back upstairs. And then I was upstairs later in the night. She was like, "So who did you have filling in for Steve today?" And I was like, "That was Steve." She was like, "No, it wasn't." Yeah, it is. He shaved his beard and cut his hair. Yeah. And she fully thought it was another human being, which I thought that was hilarious.
I refuse to believe that is the man I once knew.
Exactly.
Steve,
it is
where's
quite
Steve?
Shocking if you look at before and after photos, though.
Handsome before, handsome after.
Yeah.
And he just brings such a grounded presence to the band. When you play live, you two, everyone loses themselves. I'm not comparing in the sense of this person's better to that. I'm saying that I love personally the dynamic, so that you two just let loose, you do your thing. It's different every show. Yes, you've got the situation where Nathan likes to go and run out and hold my chord and get involved, and I love that. Let's not worry about the future version of that right now. Let's just stay where we are in this moment, because there's no show. But he brings a very grounding presence to the band, and bass players, yes, need to be able to keep time, and that's helpful, but he brings a lot more than that. Do you feel that mature, that foundation, that safety net behind you, knowing that no matter what you do, he's going to hold it down and also hop, skip, and jump out the way of your bodies?
No, Steve locks in, and he's there the whole time.
He's definitely the solid, grounded member, I think, and like whenever he has something to say, it's always so thoughtful and so detailed and precise. I feel like everything that comes out of his mouth is just very carefully
Thought out.
And yeah, it's a really nice presence to have, for sure.
He's the grounded, kind of steadied member of the band, like on and off stage at all times. For anybody who meets him, like you get the very calming presence from him at all times.
Yeah, big time.
It's very helpful sometimes.
Yeah, exactly that, right? It's you are a family, and bands, much like families, you can't see eye to eye on everything, but it's imperative that there's, one would hope, that presence, that kind of Steve. And that's not to say that you two aren't grounded and that you're flustery. It's just that it's just such a key ingredient. And yeah, I love Steve. Okay, let me make that clear. So, floating around like, does John like that guy? I think I like that guy. So the what intrigues me about the Styxman change is, so Sasha, how did Sasha come about, and how did that affect the rollout? Is he on the record? Is he not on the record? And what happens? What happened?
Well, Sasha, we've been good friends with Sasha for quite a while, and he's, I think, widely regarded by many people in Victoria as like one of the best drummers in the business around here. And especially for his, like, not that he's much younger than I am, but like for his age, it's ridiculous where he's at. And even like since he's joined the band, we've got to know him even better as a friend, and he's like another very grounding presence, which it's a beautiful thing. Like you said, the band's a family, and it's like everybody shows up for everybody else. And
like not just musically too, like energetically and just as a person, I think he shows so much wisdom and thoughtfulness, and he's becoming a key member of like our creative process as well, which is really, really nice to have another mind at work when we're actually creating our sounds and our songs, which is wonderful. But yeah, he's not on the record because the guy on the record is actually Shishai, because we recorded it so long ago. And he moved to Vancouver, I guess it was just over a year ago. And so that kind of brought on the shifting of the members.
Yeah.
Is when Shishai left.
Shishai's gone on to become an actor. Pretty wonderful.
Yeah, he's a wonderful soul as well. Talking earlier in the conversation about multi-talented human specimens, I mean, he's a walking clinic behind the drum kit for me. And with Sasha, I remember, you know, Dave Zielinski of Towers and Trees and such, and mine. So I remember I used to live with Adrian Chalafor and Jesse Boland, and Adrian of Towers and Trees and Adrian Chalafor, his solo material. And Jesse was a freak of nature. And so the first time that I saw Sasha, he was playing in Dave's band, and Dave came up to me before the show and said, for lack of better phrasing right now, this is the next Jesse Boland for me. Like, this is a teenage guy on this island who is playing like he's been playing for 35 years. And I was like, yeah. I mean, I love Jesse. Yeah. And then I watched Sasha, and I'm like, yeah. This, and I hit drums, and you know, sometimes you watch people and you go, I don't know if you're inspiring me to improve, or if you're just showing me that maybe time to switch things up a bit. But that's the beauty of art, is that everyone has their own ability and it is unique to them, and you can't compare, in my opinion. Otherwise it's going to squash your creative output, and anything that pushes you helps you grow, and that to me is a win. So with Sasha, I mean, when I saw that you announced him as coming in, I was unbelievable. I mean, I messaged you. I was unbelievably excited because now it's a walking clinic. And I think as you try and explode, try and showcase to people that aren't aware of you yet this new EP and what Shed Monkeys are about, in the middle of an unforeseen circumstance, knowing that when we come out of the back of whatever this situation means for musicians moving forward, knowing that when those shows do come back, I mean, I'm salivating at the thought of watching this lineup. Have you practiced profusely? Have you in that room behind you, what do you feel? How did you even audition him? Did you bother auditioning him, or did you just say, yes, you're interested? Don't worry about Tinder. Get in.
Yeah. Well, you said unbelievable, and that's like how we kind of felt when he said that he was going to jump on board, because, he's in so many projects and he's so talented in so many different areas. He's amazing at like engineering and producing. And so we were just like hoping that he would want to jump on board, and he said yes. And then, we've been practicing like mad in here and also at Sasha's place. They're opening a studio.
LaGrange Studios.
Yeah. And it's pretty wonderful. So it's just been a lot of playing and learning how to, vibe with a new character and a new personality. And I think
and it happened very quickly.
Yeah, it's going really well.
That learning process because playing music with somebody is like having a conversation with them for the first time.
Yeah.
And it's like, it can be nerve-wracking, it can be kind of awkward, kind of weird, but it flowed really well right off the bat. And I couldn't be more excited for what we have in store.
Yeah, big time. Because it's an unwritten emotion. It's an unwritten gut feeling when you're playing with someone and you're like, you get it. You see where I'm going when I haven't even said where I'm going, and whether it's a key change, a time change, anything. And when I used to play in a band, it was, Ali and I went through multiple guitar players and bass players. I mean, looking at a 4 or 5 piece to start, and it became the 3 piece because it was like, no, the language that we're all talking when Jordan came in and split bass and guitar on the same thing. The language that we're all talking is so tight and so there that we don't need to add just because it's the expected norm. Let's just see what we can create with this. So, oh boy. Is it just self-entitled Shed Monkeys, the EP?
It's called In the Room.
It is In the Room? Okay. Just double, triple checking everything. And where do you want to start in the formation, the foundation of this effort, these 4 songs?
Start from the top?
With Elephant?
Do you mean in terms of like the recording process or just the song?
Yeah, whatever comes to mind first. Yeah, anything.
Right. Well, I mean, first of all, with the title, like In the Room is supposed to be like anybody who listens to it, we want it to be like we're letting them into our space, into our creative minds and creative souls, and just seeing how we work and hoping that somebody takes something away from that. At least that's my interpretation. We kind of came up with the name of the album and just went with it.
Yeah, it kind of also references a few lyrics in the songs themselves. There's a line in Elephant that says he's in the room, and also a line at the end of No Coming Back, in the empty room. And I think it just kind of signifies that it kind of sounds dark, but at the end of the day, we're one person in the world that we create for ourselves. And we can choose to let people in, choose to block off the windows. So I think the intent behind it is to let people escape their room and come into ours, whatever that may be, for, I think, whatever the duration of the EP is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And where did you set about going and creating and capturing? With Malcolm once again?
Yes. Malcolm and Flood of, Band of Rascals, Stone Mastering, all that stuff. A wonderful dude. We've worked with him on everything to date. And he helps us. He helped us create what we had envisioned, quite on the nose as to what we had thought we were wanted to come out with. And we recorded it up at Silverside Sound with Lucas McKinnon, another lovely soul, and just dug in for 5 days and went at it. And there were ups and downs. We wasted almost an entire day in the studio trying to flip a song around, and then just because it didn't feel right, and then we realized that the first way is the right way.
Why is that, right? Like, I think you have to do due diligence, but at the same time, sometimes the first way is just the right way, whether that's just because it's familiar or maybe it was. Where does that come from?
It's that gut feeling again, you know?
It's the gut feeling.
Gut feeling and lived experience. As soon as you said we spent a whole day, I was like, I fucking know how that feels. Because until you dive into the studio, you can practice to a click, you can, to an extent, get all your own demo bits ready and different ways of playing through. If you just want to play through to a rough guitar part and the click and get everything locked in, speaking from my own angle. But once you're in that studio, you don't know if the song you've written, because it gets exposed tenfold. There's no hiding. There's no, oh, that crash cymbal is just going to carry over and hide a fill that maybe has just 2 hits too many. And so I found we had that with Stinging Bell, where I spent an entire day trying to do one song, and I was meant to capture all 3 drum parts in one day. And the longer it goes on, the more you then become at war with yourself, and then you start playing worse because then you're over-analyzing, you're not living in the moment, you're not putting through that fearless rock and roll vibe in terms of myself. And so it came to the point where it's just like, okay, it's not working, and we just ditched it. And so the 3-4 songs we wished to do became 2, because you're looking at a time crunch, you're looking at a financial crunch, and you're looking, quite frankly, if it's not ready, why would you force it? So I like the fact that, which song was it then that you readjusted and you came back round and went, no, it's this way.
The second track on the EP called No Coming Back.
That's interesting. Was it
Kind of
titled
ironic.
before? Yeah, was it titled before?
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
We titled this one No Coming Back because we nearly flipping gave up on it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, these are the 2, No Coming Back and Ghost are the most recent releases. Spotlight I've known about for a long time, but not necessarily all the audience have right now. Spotlight and Elephant, I'm addressing 2 songs in one I've personally known about for a while, and Shed Monkey's Lovers will know about from being released for more than the last few days before this airs. Let's just hone in one by one, and very, very simply, what is one thing that you're both proud of with each track? And we'll start with Elephant. Just the first thing that comes to mind.
Oh man.
First thing that comes to mind for me, I think that it was the first time I actually sat down with a piano and a piano sample. And after playing guitars for many years, actually honing in on a jam with the keys, I think is probably something I'm most proud of, and opened up the doors. And now I only play keys in this band. So. Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Oh man. The first. Probably the biggest thing for me would be just because one of the things that I've been working really hard at since the beginning of this band is because I know we work in tandem, taking on the role of lead singer, and I've been one of the I've played guitar for 12 years now, but as for singing vocals in a band situation, it's only been a couple of years. So I'd say probably the vocal performance, just because I was really going into the studio, I was very worried about how that would go, but for Elephant, it turned out really well, and I was really happy with the way my voice sounded for the first time in a long time after hearing it on a recording. So that's probably the number one for me. And
it's such a vulnerable thing, and if you're not used to it, I think diving into the world of singing can be so exposing. And but yeah, you kind of have to start somewhere. And I think over the past 2 years, 3 years that you've been singing in this band, it's
it's
crazy.
Changed. Yeah. And that's just even looking at me very, very selfish, looking at my own performance, but overall, just I am blown away with the way everybody performed on all the tracks, but Elephant had right away, they all really had a magic to them right away, but Elephant came together very quickly in terms of writing, and everybody's parts just kind of popped up, and they didn't change that much going into the studio, which feels really good in a way, just to know that gut feeling was the right one. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely it does, and there's nothing wrong with looking at yourself and appreciating the growth. Otherwise you're just not going to keep growing. You need to realize the steps you make and how you learn leading to the step in the first place, and as you move forward. I love that you shared that about the vocal, because that is a massive, massive thing for me in the maturity of your band the last few years, and it shows tenfold. It's very clear that you guys don't rest on your laurels, and it's very clear that you're extremely passionate about your art and what you do. And what I'm intrigued by then, if it's not the vocal, if it's the vocal that is the first thing that comes to your mind, is that guitar solo. How long did that take?
I'm surprised.
And how on earth did you make it? Because I'm talking like nerdy here. How did you create that sonic? It's just, there's so much going on in it, and it nearly makes my brain explode every time I hear it. And then just as you need to, back in, and we're back into the outro of the song. How did you go about doing that?
I mean, I am very proud of the guitar solo in that song, but none of the solo like lead guitar parts on the record were written. They were all kind of just what came out in the studio. So I honestly couldn't really tell you how I came up with the solo for Elephant, because I think it was like one of 3 takes or something like that.
Whammy pedal. Number one.
The whammy pedal is a big one. Drawing inspiration from Jack White in many ways. I find with writing riffs and just improvising and playing the instrument when it's plugged in, like the sonic sound that comes out of the guitar pedals that I use tends to inspire different feels, and the way I'm going to play the instrument totally changes depending on which button on my pedal board I've turned on. And that solo very much starts with one fuzz pedal, and then add a second one when it really ramps up, and then the whammy at the very end. And I was kind of just moving my way across and doing what felt right.
We were all in the room as he was playing it, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, like that's it. And then Nathan goes, oh, are you sure? I think I can do a couple more. And we're like, just stop. Like, that was fucking insane. That's it. And then you came in and listened, and I think agreed.
Yeah.
And it was just
kind of like a magic moment.
That's one take.
Yeah, that's one take.
And then a bit of, I think, studio magic.
Yeah, and then you add presence and thicken it out around. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And is every pedal sponsored by Third Man, or do you break it up with some other manufacturers?
None of them are, actually, funny enough. But
you've not got a Third Man yet?
No, I don't.
All the ones that we've linked to each other?
I know, not yet.
Oh,
I want one.
Christmas. Okay.
I want one. Yeah, please. No, they're all. I've got the foundation of a lot of it is this fuzz octave pedal from the 60s that was made by Jimi Hendrix's guitar tech. And I found one in Victoria. They normally go for upwards of $1,000, and I found one for $100. I just don't think the person knew what they had. And I was actually in London at the time, visiting like the Jimi Hendrix Museum, and it was one evening, and I was looking through like Use Victoria.
You were visiting the Jimi Hendrix Museum?
Yeah, I know. It was really weird. It was around the same time, and it popped up on Use Victoria, and I emailed the guy, and I was like, "Hey, I'll take it. Like, I don't care if it doesn't work or whatever. Like, I'll take it. But I'm not home for another 2 weeks. Can you hold it for me until then?" He was like, "Well, I'm trying to get rid of it right now." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna message some people." And I texted my friend, and with the time difference, it was late at night in London, but it was mid-afternoon over here. And my friend was actually, I think, 2 blocks away from the guy's house.
Oh my gosh.
At the time. So I was like, if I e-transfer him, can you just go grab it for me? And she was like, yeah, of course. So that's a big one. That's like the foundation of my guitar tone.
That's the birth of Shed Monkeys.
Yeah, is that fuzz pedal pretty much. Because it just, every time I turn it on, it seems to come up with something new, which is really cool. Well, it brings out something new from me.
Yeah, that's that's a flipping sweet universe connect situation of a story.
Oh yeah.
And it would be quite magic to think that several years from now, or if the chance ever arises, like to have Shed Monkeys play the Troubadour, that underground venue in London, that had the first that Hendrix played when he went to perform in the UK. I got to do stand-up comedy in there years ago. I was an MC that would do stand-up in between bands, and a friend of mine was in a band that was managed by McCartney's old manager, and he said, you know, back in my day with Beatles and everything, we used to have comedians in between the sets because it's about the experience. And so I went on this tour around England with this band that led me to performing the Troubadour, and you go down like 3-4 stories. It's gritty, it's tiny, and there's the stage in the corner, and it just it's from the Second World, it's from the wars, right? This is the underground part of London where people were trying to stay alive eating spam, and now it's just this unbelievable energy in there, and it's tiny and everything. You can't fit more than 2 people around certain parts as you go around. I'd love to see you guys in there. Tiny stage. It's just, you can't help but be covered in sweat very, very quickly. That's an awesome story about
like the dream. Yeah.
And I was going around playing like, my other looper pedal that I've had for years is over the other side of my room. But I back then was 18, and Madonna had just released I Got Enough Room for Both. I Want Somebody, that one. And I had spent ages meticulously cutting out and slowing down. I've got enough room for both. And I just played that to start until people looked around and went, who the hell is doing something? And I was like, right, she's not here. I'm John. And that's, anyway, so I'm still just as interesting, all these. Anyway, back to you. Second song, No Coming Back. And thank you for sharing that Hendrix story. That's flipping sweet. No Coming Back. One thing that springs to mind that you both are proud of or most enjoy with that song?
I think just dedication is the word that comes to mind in that song. It kind of came out of another riff from Elephant, actually, was like the birth of that song, and we built it around there. And yeah, I think it took some time. I think it was definitely the one that gave us the most challenges, but we put in the most work, and I'm actually really happy with how it came out. It's like a little bit different than the other ones, but in a good way.
To us, it stands out quite a bit in a unique way.
All 4 of these songs are very different. You know it's you. You know it's you from the tone and the production and the cleanliness of how it's put together, if that's a phrase I can use in this moment. And I interrupted, so let me not interrupt and go back to you.
Oh, no. Man, I'm proud of that song. It's hard to say because there's so many things that went into that, and a lot of experimentation in the studio.
Yes, including barrels.
I was just going to say that might be my favorite part.
Yeah.
There's
a big old oak wine barrel.
So Silverside Sound used to be a winery, and they stored all these barrels of wine in there, and they've still got one. And so we were working on the second verse of No Coming Back, and doing like auxiliary percussion stuff.
Missing something.
It was like we needed bongos or something, but we didn't have bongos. so we threw, I think Lucas threw a microphone in the barrel.
In the barrel, around the barrel.
And then around the barrel. And then we never took any pictures of it, but like I was playing the barrel to the song, but it's such an awkward position that I was like lying on top of this massive wine barrel, like waiting for it and just doing like little kind of bongo hits. And it kind of like, I think when we were sitting in there doing some like rough mixing just to hear how it's all sounding, I think one of the biggest things that we kept saying was like, we need more barrel. Like the barrel needs to be higher up in the mix because it sounded so good.
Images of like Donkey Kong kind of come to mind.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I mean, talk about like, this is like, how djembe are you? Like how big can they go? You know, all these little, like Lumineers are sat there, boom, ba, ba, boom, ba, ba. You roll out a flipping wine barrel, splayed across the top of it. Does this sound good?
It was not flattering. It was not flattering. Yeah.
Oh, it's a shame you didn't get a picture, but I also love that you didn't, because you were in the moment of creation and not posturing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly.
Third song, Ghost.
I think that I'm just kind of most proud of the overall soundscape that we were able to get from that song. I initially wrote it on my little garage band, putting in MIDI and whatnot, and I kind of had a vision for it from the get-go, and it just turned into this like almost cinematic atmosphere, and it really just captured the emotions that I was trying to convey lyrically as well. So I think for me, yeah, just that we were able to solidly get the atmosphere that I was hoping for and like wanting to put out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, I think it definitely comes down to vocals again, because it's such a big thing, because it's like the number one thing that I think people tend to, not to generalize, but it's like it's the most prominent thing in a song. Oftentimes it cuts through, and it was the one song on the album that we actually experimented with harmonies a little bit, and it ended up kind of, for me, singing a harmony was like, no, I'm not gonna do it. My voice isn't capable of that kind of thing. And then after a lot of convincing on Rhea's part, to me, we gave it a go, and it really just, it brought the chorus up to like where it needed to be. Then hearing both of our voices working together just really amped everything up. It gave it the right feel.
And added like a sort of like urgency to the lyrics themselves. I think having two vocals, almost like a severity to it, and it's exactly what it needed. So
yeah. And it came out of, for me, challenging myself to do something different, and in terms of the band, it was just exploring something new, which I feel like it's a lesson that I'm learning over and over again. That's always a good thing. It's always a good thing to try something new.
It stands out when I heard it, and I was like, oh, because it is the first time you've done it. And it's not that you've released, thousands of songs, but I've seen you nearly every show you've played, and it's not something that I'd ever even thought, I didn't see it coming. And it was layered so brilliantly. It's the production is really flipping good. But it was that pleasant surprise. And because I'm used to hearing you, Nathan, I keep reading your Nate-Doo Discord name instead on the other screen here. I just see you go. I've seen you stand and deliver. Da, 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 da. So to hear you then start to go on that roller coaster, and how it then, they thickened out the production. I mean, everyone thickened out with each chorus. There was a few more layers of you subtly added in. I'm just guesstimating, and it just lifted, and then bam, at the end. That's the most interesting song for me, because for me, up until that moment, Shed Monkeys were stand and deliver, boom, bop, bow. Here we go. Everything's simplified, and yet it marinates and melds together wonderfully. But this was, we're diving in the pool now and truly experimenting to push the growth here. And it shows. And it also, at the back of it, is really good. It's not, you didn't leave something in there because it was part of it. It's really good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
So you close with Spotlight. Favorite moment, favorite nugget.
Oh, Spotlight's a big one. Oh boy, do you want to go first again? It's been a
I've gone first
good back and forth. Okay.
Every time.
With Spotlight, I think generally looking at the song, the bridge, it really, it hits exactly, because I remember when I was first coming up with ideas for that song, I was like, when I came to writing that bridge, I wanted it to be the biggest sounding thing that we had done yet. I mean, that's always what you want to do, but in terms of like sound, I wanted it to be like a smack in the face to anybody listening. And I think it really comes through the way drops down and you get the guitar, and then you did that crazy like wobbly synth thing going in, and then Shishai and Steve coming in with their, it just like everything comes together in the exact way that was in my mind when we were first conceptualizing the song. And it just, I think it's a beautiful representation of the way our live shows often go, which is like dipping into everybody's together very tight to everything kind of falling apart and then coming back together again, because I think that's what makes it exciting in that way.
Intentional chaos, I think.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think the neat thing whenever I think about Spotlight is the fact that it stemmed from like one note, and just like the rhythm of that one note, and then it turned into this like huge thing. And to me, I think that Spotlight is kind of a magical song in terms of what music can do and how it can grow and how you can craft things from rhythm and tone. It's just it's so cool. And so that's what I love about that song.
When you say it stemmed from one note, try and paint a picture and take us back into that moment. What do you mean? Where were you? And was it literally just the tone of the note? Was it the note itself that inspired a melody? Like finite detail, if you can. Where, how?
Yeah. I think we were in here, weren't we? And I think we literally said, like, it'd be cool if we wrote a song that like the verse is just, let's just do one note and just kind of hit it. And then I think I just went like da 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 da. And then we were like, oh.
Yeah, I think playing on the idea of like pure simplicity was the intent. And then obviously, it grew from there. But yeah, like what can we reduce like a song to essentially? And it was rhythm and that one note that he played on the guitar, which was mean and gritty, but at the base of it, it was just the strings vibrating in the same frequency.
Yeah, and it's the rhythm of it, even though it's one note, is the steady rhythm of it kind of makes it sound like a melody in a way, even though it doesn't move. It stays steady and strong in one spot for almost the entire song. Well, every verse stays the same.
And it's not a Jack White third man pedal either.
No, it's not.
It's a Hendrix.
It's a little box from the 60s.
Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you for sharing all those little bits and pieces. And what do you foresee the future as? How have you refined the plans? Because we've spoken about this through Instagram messages last week, and I said, let's not dive too deeper because it's going to ruin this. It's not going to ruin it. It's just going to alter the conversation. It's not going to be as organic necessarily. But when you look at, and as I said to you on Instagram, I look at local bands like Spirit Box, very much in the metal vein. As my mum would say, this is a bit aggressive. And they have curated and built an audience online and have played a handful of shows. And so many bands dive into you've got to drive and lived experience. And this is not the era of the tragically hip. For the last 15 years, you can't just, Pup would challenge you on that one a little bit, but it's a very small amount of bands and performers that can just play, and through that break out. There's still going to be great content. There's still going to be great connection with listeners. You're still going to be able to do it live. How do you foresee, and how have you studied up? I don't mean that to be a demeaning question, but have you researched, okay, well, this world is pretty shit right now. We have no idea necessarily where things are going to move forward, but what is the plan that will be evanescent and change? What is the plan right now for Shed Monkeys? Foreseeable future?
Well, we're going to keep writing and recording and just, I think, try to pump out as much material, whether that's new recorded music or live streaming concerts like we're going to do, I guess, when this is airing. It's going to be tonight.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of kind of analyzing how the digital world works and trying to figure it out, even though it's ever changing. Like one thing might work for somebody, it's not going to work for another. So think we're still feeling out exactly what's going to work for us. But with Sasha being on board and his knowledge of like production and recording and engineering, and his space that he's building at his house, like they host the occasional live stream from their studio, and now that we have that resource, I think the plan is to try and get that going as soon as we can.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's the plan is to go with the flow, and
but like with some intention.
For
sure.
Intent for sure.
Yeah.
Like
I think we've learned a lot about how the industry works, because, you know, as anyone is, when you kind of step into it, you're quite naive into like everything that goes on in the whole industry, and especially in the age of digital media and digital marketing. I think it's something that we've had to take under and to try to learn about as much as we can, which we have been doing, I think, slowly, whether that's through reaching out to people, getting advice, which is always super appreciative. There's an amazing music scene here of supporters, and or just learning about how to run a website and how to make an online store and that kind of thing. It's been challenging, but we have some things in motion. So
yeah, there's a lot of things. It's amazing when you really look at it, how much goes on behind the scenes, and what you really see a band doing, for any band really, but like what the amount of work that is going on that is not even writing or performing or practicing. A lot of it has nothing. Well, I mean, it relates to the music, but a lot of it has nothing to do with playing music. It's about getting the music that you're playing out there to people and learning how to do that. So that's been the biggest thing that we've been focusing on over the past couple months, is just taking it all in and reaching out to the resources we have, the friends that we have that have this knowledge, and just trying to soak up as much as we can.
Yeah. And
it's also like an immediacy, I think. So our plan is to go into the studio again this December.
Very soon. We just booked some dates, which is
super exciting.
Oh yeah, but I can't wait.
Yeah, I think it's like a matter of timing and always having something refreshing and new to throw out there. So
yeah, there's no wrong answer to that, because there's so much going on around us that we think we know or that we don't know. There's constant growth, because it's a case of everything the last 6 months. And I don't want to paint a picture too big, but in terms of, it's buy. You need to buy this, you need to buy that, you need this, you need this, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing this. And not to speak ill of anyone, each to your own, and you're going to do what you're going to do. But for me, I like to observe for a little bit before I dive in. Do I need to try this? Do I need to be on this site? Do I need to be on that? Do I need to release this way? Do I need to do that? You know, and with launching the radio station, what was that we're talking in right now? It's organic, unforced, slow growth. I'm not going down the route of throwing money into major corporations to pump their bank account to show to 2 or 3 people on my feed what I'm doing. So I've left the big ones and jumped into a whole, with Discord and a few other things, to build a whole new community. And so you don't need to necessarily have the Facebook or the this or the that. So what intrigues me is reading earlier today that Mother have seen 33 million spins off of Oh My Heart that came out over 10 years ago, due to hundreds of thousands of people on TikTok doing different stories. And I have been very no to TikTok. I did join it a few months ago just to secure Williams of John, because that's what everything is, branding, okay? Branding. But I've watched from afar. I don't think I wish to dip my toe in it at all. But when you look at those figures, and there's so many differential circumstances that come into play here as to how that's happened. But has TikTok entered your mind? Have you gone, well, look, Facebook, no one's seeing it. We're paying to boost. It's not being seen. F it. You know, has that played into your mind at all?
Definitely.
We still post to Facebook, but I can't remember the last time we actually ran an ad on there.
Yeah, it's kind of TikTok is like the new frontier almost.
Which we haven't touched on yet.
Not yet. I have an account, but I think one of the biggest things is having our music in other people's posts and videos. I know that's a big thing in the TikTok realm. So I think we are potentially going to run a campaign that way. It sounds so weird saying
it does
a campaign,
but business.
I think that's definitely on the horizon. If we want to, just try and cover as much ground as possible in the early stages.
It's a weird world to try to get into. And it's scary because I don't know. I already know how much having Facebook and Instagram affects me in my day-to-day life, and the cell phone in general. Like, just to add another facet of that might be distracting from the present moment, but it's balancing that and using it to work in the world we live in and develop our, like you said, branding, developing that with the modern age of what's in front of us, what people are looking at.
Yeah, I get so interested by it because it's brilliant for Mother that there's been millions of streams, but it's not paying the mortgage, right? Because there's still systems in place that aren't, they get 0.603 of a cent for that play, and boost that to 0.607 of a cent for anyone that saves or downloads on their Spotify. So for me, I look at it and I go, and I'll just talk for myself with what was that and the way that I'm trying to grow organically and unforced, especially when you're in a pandemic. The last thing I'm going to do is go and start buying billboards and saying, I do this better than them, and I can't stand that shit. That's why I left. One of many reasons. The grandstanding, it doesn't matter. You're not better than anyone else. It's just a different avenue, a different adventure, a different feel. And you're allowed to just you don't have to advertise in that way. And how companies still think that people look at that and go, oh, this city's #1 station. It doesn't mean shit. It doesn't. They're going to connect with the souls within it and the music that's being played and how they represent it. The sign doesn't matter. It's seen and it's forgotten for me, and I won't speak for others, so I don't dive into that. But it's for me, I look at it and go, okay, do I want to jump into a TikTok? Because what's that going to bring me? Is it going to bring people can see, but they're not necessarily going to go beyond TikTok to discover. That's not to say that people haven't. They have, but then also there's systems that link through. I'm going off on a route that I didn't plan on going into, and we've been talking for over an hour and 5 minutes because we haven't chatted in so long.
It's been a while.
It's been so long.
There's no time limit on it. I think honestly, I might have to now clump out just the bits where we're talking about you to air before the EP on the air, and then the whole thing will live on YouTube. Because I was just like, when are they going to play the bloody songs? John's talking about TikTok. If you don't like it, John, shut up. So I will, and revert it back to. But I find it interesting, because we're both trying to bring eyes and awareness to our babies, to our outlook, to our creative flow, and there is no right or wrong answer to anything in my eyes. There's only growth and opportunity, and it's just whether you want to dip your toe into it or not. I think of TikTok, I think of Vine, and how I downloaded Vine and I watched Will Sasso and his Lemons for years, and then was like, I should start to make silly things like them, and then Vine shut down. So we didn't know if America was going to buy TikTok and then shut it down, so I just felt like I'll just leave it. I'll just watch it and leave it. And then I saw that Rolling Stone article today and was just fascinated by it, and that's why it just sprung into this part of our conversation. But with Shed Monkeys and then the Quarren Beats Nightmare on Rock Street show, I guess I am dropping TikTok because it's not going anywhere, because I'm not finding the right words of frustration, and moving on to this Twitch and YouTube live stream. This is then right from the studio, Sash's studio. Please expand.
So this is going to be at Actually, I don't know if we're supposed to say where exactly it's taking place.
Oh, okay,
but
okay,
it
done.
is-
Yeah.
Oh wait, dude, I guess people know, don't they? Do they? I have no idea.
I'm not sure.
Okay, let's just not.
Okay.
It's fine. Quorum Beats Radio though is they kind of popped up when, I mean, name kind of gives it away. They popped up when everybody was in quarantine, and I think it's really cool because it comes out of the necessity for people want to consume a live performance, and if you can't go to one, and we have these computers and we can do it, and it's I think it's a beautiful thing. It's a really it's a wonderful use of technology that we have at our disposal. And so yeah, they bring a couple bands in, they set up a bunch of microphones, they set up the live stream, and they do a little bit of an interview thing, I think before or
and maybe
after.
during a bit. I think it's quite casual.
It is pretty casual, yeah.
Just showcasing, I think, a lot of really cool Victoria musicians and also just Victoria people. Yeah,
a lot of local talent, and they do it out of their, I think, their own pocket, or they get fun. I think they may have gotten some grants for it, but it's not costing us a dime. We're able to just go share our art and
be really excited.
Yeah, I can't wait. Yeah. It's gonna be weird performing to a crowd that's not in front of us.
Yeah.
Physically, and trying to capture the energy that we go for with our shows.
Well, there's no crowd for you to go in.
Yeah, there's no. I can't walk. I can't go be amongst the people, because that's a big part of a Shed Monkeys live show is bringing everybody. Everybody's on the same level. Nobody's above everybody else. Everybody is experiencing this thing together, and that's the most important part of live music, I think, is that everybody in that room is connecting and having that same unique experience at once. And it's going to be weird having it where it's now immortalized on the internet, but I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, I'm so used to being at a Shed Monkeys show, and I end up doing this.
Precisely.
There's a wonderful photo there somewhere.
Stay still.
Don't move.
Yeah, I love that photo because I've got like 5 chins.
Here.
Rock and roll. This is rock and roll. Don't worry about the chins. Just go, you know?
Just go.
Yeah.
Well,
living in the moment.
I got to be honest with you. I was going off on that TikTok rant because I haven't. Oh, I've just turned on my. I don't need that right now. Let's turn the looper off before it starts playing some horrendous that I made earlier. I haven't eaten any lunch or dinner yet, and so I'm crashing and was like TikTok, nightmare, and my brain was just verbal diarrheaing out a bunch of yet to be properly combined thoughts, which is TikTok. What do I think about it? Still unsure. That's what I could have said, and it would have saved 3 or 4 minutes. But again, there's no right or wrong here. It's just a conversation, and
exactly.
I personally am very, very glad that you're going to keep going. I don't have the answers. I don't have any predictions of what the future is. But what I do know is that from the way that you both hold yourselves and the way that the band goes about their business is that the future is still just as exciting as it was for me before lockdown. And Elephant, for those who haven't heard it, that will hear it shortly, is one of those songs where people go, why isn't this on the radio yet? Now I know that with the Zone we got you as Band of the Month, and we pushed that, and it lives on there in the Zone at 91.3, and it's never going to not be there for anyone that listens to it that can request it, and please do. But there's that fickle, why isn't this band there when this song's like this? And to get to my point, I firmly, honestly believe you could place Elephant alongside any of the major bands being played and the usual 5 or 6 bands that just keep going around in circles on mainstream radio. Elephant is just as good as Sunday Driver by the Raconteurs. Elephant is just as good as Mess Around by Cage Elephant. And Elephant, oh, I just said it, so many elephants. But when I look back at some of the biggest rock songs of the last few years, this is probably going to be a song that, if things go well, you'll re-release again in a few years, because it's timeless and it's pure rock and roll, and the energy is captured in studio that I see on stage, and it's just really, really exciting. What excites me then in hearing the roundness of the EP with No Coming Back and Ghost and Spotlight is you're only, as you play and you venture into these different tunnels of creation of the Ghost and Spotlight, you're only going to improve that different shade and side of the multifaceted item or situation that is Shed Monkeys. But with that elephant core and that foundation of, for me, who you are, it's really exciting. Get in the studio in December, and if you've got to throw away a song after a day, then you damn well know the next time you go back in a year later, the growth from that is only going to produce another nugget of incredibleness, is what my brain wanted to say. Another brilliant song. That's my little passionate pump up the tires of people I appreciate and love moment, because this is, you know, Jordan texted me a few years ago, one of my best friends, and said, I'm in this motorcycle store. I think it's called Wheelies. Should I call it a store? Anyway, the cheese toasty is really good. And do you know who this band is? Shed Monkeys. And he sent me this really shitty picture where I couldn't make out anyone in it, just trying to get it over the top. And to look back at the growth from then, and I'd said, yeah, I'd seen them when they were just two people in Copper Island. I was like, yeah. He's like, no. You haven't seen them. You need to see this next step. And this is growth in 24 months, you know? It's really exciting for me, really exciting. And also knowing the family you've got around you and the support that your parents give and your friends in the community. I mean, you got to keep making art, and you got to keep, of all types. I've got like your Instagram open next to me now and looking through all the pictures, whether it's a Tyson Elder picture or Octographers, whether it's this mysterious one of, do you believe in ghosts? And I can't even tell what the layering is on this photo. I see leaves and your face and glasses. I get really excited on every little detail that's coming our way. For those that follow along with Shed Monkeys, at Shed Monkeys. Get on Insta. Okay, I'll stop.
Wow.
Those were a lot of very generous words, so thank you.
Well, I mean them all. So I don't say what I don't mean. So, yeah, and I'm just one guy in my bachelor pad.
I know, but coming from anybody, it's a beautiful thing. Like whenever anybody appreciates the art you create, it's like that's the feeling that you're chasing, right? Mm-hmm. Is loving your own art and feeling that same love come back to you. Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, thank you. And we've been talking. We just booked our studio time for December, and it's like we can't wait to share the sound that it really feels like over the past couple months, mm-hmm. with us being at home jamming all the time, we've found a sound that draws from, I think the EP kind of encompasses like 4 separate, like rather different but similar sounds mm-hmm. that we've kind of conglomerated into who we are, which is it's so exciting. Mm-hmm. And I really hope that people like it.
Yeah. Well, here's what I'm going to do is the plan's changing again. I'm going, because I want to make sure that the EP really pops out the back of when this goes on the radio side of things. So I'm going to take that wonderful segment of the 4 songs and the pride of each song, and that's what I'm going to play before the EP on Friday. And we'll sort out the rest of this one when I hit stop record. And then this whole thing will live on YouTube for anyone to go to right before the Quarren Beats show, if they wish to really dive into it and to get to know you more, and then watch that live session as well. I dream of that. I think that would be a wonderful thing to do. And then also see the wonderful souls at Quarren Beats that I've watched pretty much. I think there's only one that I've missed of the handful that they've done throughout the last few months, because there was loads of them at Vinyl Envy, and I got a lot of love. Well, we all do for Mike and Vinyl Envy. And so that's how I think I'm going to roll this out, is we'll put the whole thing on the YouTube, And just to make sure that people aren't, John, shut up with the TikTok thing. Let's get back to the band. Chippity chop that a little bit to get that on the air itself, if that's okay with you. It's whatever whatever you would like to best service your art. That's the most important thing.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like a beautiful plan to me.
All right. Wonderful.
Can we use that hilarious screenshot to tease?
Promo away.
Yeah.
Sure.
Promo away.
Did you send it, the one with the chipmunk? And
yeah,
okay.
he did.
I sent it, yeah.
That's it.
In the Discord, yeah.
It's on
Brilliant.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for giving so much of your time, and it's so great to catch up with you both. And
it was just so lovely to have a conversation and
yeah,
like you said, catch up.
This is the first ever sort of visual chat I've had with anyone. And what was that?
Yeah.
Oh, exciting.
That's very exciting to be the first for that. And just, I don't know, seeing the way the station is growing and being able to be a part of it in some way is super exciting.
So cool.
You're kind of a big part of it. Elephant and Spotlight have played a lot. So
shit.
That's my favorite thing about just being in charge of this. Is just me, is I don't just throw a single on, I throw the whole record on. And then, if there's one song that speaks to me more than others, then I'll make sure that plays a little bit more than the rest. But do you know Broken Love from Ontario?
It sounds familiar.
For me,
sure
alongside Shed Monkeys, and they've just been signed to a major label and they're starting to roll out different things to mainstream release. But Shed Monkeys and Broken Love, East and West Coast, West and East Coast, two of the most exciting rock bands in this country. And I'm thinking of all the songs I need to link you after our conversation is done. So I will do that.
Yeah, please do.
Shot Down by Broken Love is a great introduction to them. And Elephant by Shed Monkeys is a great introduction to you. And if you then go through the rest of what you've created or they've created, you're not disappointed. Like you know it's that band. They've got that sound. I don't hear it anywhere else right now. And I haven't heard every sound in the world, but in this moment, two of the most exciting bands in the country in rock, Broken Love, my opinion.
Yeah, that's those big
we'll
words.
Check them out.
So,
we'll check them out.
We'll send them a DM. We'll send them a TikTok video or something.
Yeah, exactly. Are you guys on Tinder? Super group. Anyway.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah,
thank
that was
you.
a blast.
Yeah, it's really fun.
I'm gonna stop the recording now. So I don't know if you want to do like an extra. Do I climb out the desk and you lean other ways, or how do we?
I think we sync down.
Okay, okay. Now let me just get my mouse in the right position so I can click.
Brother, oh no, one more.
Oh boy. Okay.
Okay.
Oh no, you can still see John like 100%.
Oh, can you? Let me take the. All right, seamless. Okay, no, duck.
Wait,
No,
take
I haven't done it yet.